Hey everyone, welcome to part 3 of our user control tutorial. In this part we are going to look at some data binding. Alright, before we start I'm going to run this real quick, make sure everything still works, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so time picker still works, everything else should be good to go. So we have three address controls, actually one, but we use in multiple different ways. Okay, this first one in XAML, and this one was called behind. So, all right, I'm gonna get rid of some of these comments here. I think I'm gonna clean up this top part too. So let's get rid of this using statements. All right. Okay, let's start with creating a few classes now. So public class, I'm gonna call this shipping, or just ship, whichever works for you. It's going to have two properties, type of string. I'm gonna call the first one street, and the second one will be a string also. It's going to be city. For state zip, I'm gonna use hard-coded values, so I'm not going to use those to make things a little simple and save some time. Okay, I'm going to copy this and create another one that says billing. Okay. Alright. And then I'm going to create a customer class, public class customer. And it's going to have a property of string that's going to say name, and then it's going to have two properties, one for billing, one for shipping. So prop is going to be billing. Let's call this bill address, and another one is going to be shipping, ship address. Okay, and then let's create another class that's going to supply us some data. So public class customers, public static, and a method in here is going to get us a list of customers. I think we cleaned up a little too early our namespaces, so I'm gonna control that and bring in generic namespace. It's going to be customer, and let's call this get customers. Okay, so list customers equals new list of customers. Let's close this here and let's create a couple of customers. So customer, I'm gonna go with var. Sometimes annoys me when a variable shows up. So var c1 equals new customer, and let's get some values. Name, what a surprise, let's go with John Doe, and we need bill address equals new billing. Okay, so for billing we need let's see, we had street and city, right? Street equals 1 any street, city equals any city. Okay, let's tab this in to fix the format. Right, and then I'm gonna add a shipping address to this guy. So let's copy and paste this. It's going to be shipping address, new shipping, and okay, sorry about that. So let's change this to, instead of 1, let's go with 2. Any street, any city. The rest can stay the same, or we can just say shipping street, ship street, and we can say this bill street. That makes more sense, I think. Okay. Alright, so we got the shipping address and billing address for customer 1. Let's copy and paste this one more time and create a second customer. This is going to be Jane Doe, and this is going to be, let's say, 100 and 200 respectively, and we can change the city to some city. Okay, and it's going to be, of course, C2. Can't use the same variable twice. And let's add this to our customers list. So customers dot add C1, and then customers dot add C2. Okay, and finally we're going to return the customers list. Okay, all right, I think our data is ready. Now let's go do some binding. Okay, yep. All right, so let's go back to our main window. I'm gonna add a list box here, which I already did previously, but I'm gonna get rid of this and redo it. So list box name, let's call this LBX, and I'm gonna increase the font size to something like 16, and then give it a item source. But first we're going to need a data context. So I'm gonna add a data context here, window.dataContext. All right, this is going to be local customers. Okay, gonna build this to get rid of that squiggly line. Actually, let me get rid of this first before I do a build. Okay, so the error cleared up here. Now I can set the item source here. It's going to be binding. Oh, we need a property. Sure. So almost forget about that. So in here, I'm gonna create a new property. Prop list of customers. And let's call this my customers. Okay, and let's set this to get customers static method. Okay, so this is going to get us the customers. Now we can reference that my customers, and we should be able to get data here once we build that. So this list box is inside here, right below this last line of text. Okay, it's in the first stack panel we have on the left column. Let me build this. We'll probably see that once we rebuild it. And we didn't get it. Oh, there you go. Okay. So we got the customer objects. Let's set our member display member type to display member path to name, and we should get the names. Perfect. Okay, now that we have, let's run this first. Make sure we don't have a build error. Okay, perfect. So we got our customers here. Now what we want to do, we want to bind the addresses to this user controls. Okay. So typically we would be able to say DataContext binding element name lbx comma path she's going to customer dot billing. I think that's the property we had in our customer object. Yep, billing and shipping. So we should be able to do that in here, but this is not going to work the way it is. We have to make a few changes. So let's go back to our main my address control, and we gotta get rid of this data context over here, and then we have to get rid of this property here, and we're going to need a new property that's going to be a dependency property. So prop, let's go prop dp, scroll down a little bit. It's going to be type of string, basically the same thing we did here, but this is going to be again dependency property. So I'm going to call this just like before, address type. Okay, let's change the owner class to my address, and let's give it a default value of nothing, or we can do test. Oh, let's just leave it blank. Okay, and in our control here, in the XAML part, we are going to say binding my we gotta give it a name to our user control. So let's call this name my UC, and here we're going to say binding element name my UC, and the path is address type, should be right here. Okay, so that's going to be still binding to our address property, address type property right here. Okay, and we got rid of the data context here, so now we should be free on this end, on the main window XAML end. So now let's see, let me get rid of this for a second, the path, and let's build this. Okay, okay, so build completed, and let's run this, make sure the stuff still works. Okay, we have still have shipping address, billing address, and mailing address. Let's see if I change one of the properties here. Let's say if I say mailing here, and it changes right here, so that's good. Okay, so now we are setting the data context to our selected item. So the path is going to be selected item, selected item, Jesus, what's going on? I can't even type these days. Build this. Forget the comma. Okay. Alright, so we set the data context here. Now in our my address XAML, we should be able to bind to the properties of the address class. So I'm going to start with this street. So I'm going to say binding street. Okay. Let's see what happens. So let's run this. You got an error. The text. Line 24 is not allowed. Let's see. Line 24. Oh, this guy here, we have a white space. That's probably why. Let's try again. Okay, if we select one of these guys, we are still not seeing anything yet. So let's see. So we are selected to, we are bound to select item, which is a customer object in here. Let's see. I think I have to change that to customer select item dot. Let's stick with shipping. Let's try this. So I'm drilling down to the shipping. And let's build this again. And from shipping, I'm getting the street address. I think it should work. Let's run this. Let's select the customer, and still nothing. Okay. Selected item. Dot shipping. Okay. Let's see. We lost the street thing over here, right? Hold on a second. I've done something wrong. Oh gosh. This is not the right place. I'm looking for the text boxes, but right here, text binding street. I think that's not going to change anything, but at least the right spot. So if I select this, nothing's coming up here. Okay, let's see why. So it's at the data context here. Shipping. Missing something. Of course, this should be ship address, not, I think it was ship address, right? Yeah, bill address, ship address. Alright, so let's change this to ship address. And I think that should take care of it. Let's run this again. And we select a customer, and it's successfully binding to the property. Alright, perfect. So let's go ahead and do the other properties as well. So go back to our user control, not this guy, this one here, and let's set the text property to binding city. Now since both class address and shipping and billing has the same properties, so this is gonna work for both. So, and for the state and zip, I'm just gonna type in something static. So text, I'm gonna say like XY 1 2 3 4 5. Okay. So now we should be able to bind to our properties the way we want it. Okay, now if I select one of these guys, the street will bind and the city will bind. Likewise, the second one, same thing. This guy we can bind to the billing now because we set this one to ship address and this one we can set to bill address. So we can say DataContext binding element name LBX pet. It's going to be selected item dot bill address. Okay, and that should take care of the billing address. Okay, now let's go ahead and try again. So now we have the billing address and the shipping addresses respectively. Okay. Alright, so that's binding. In the next part we are going to add a button click to our probably user control and work on the event handlers a little bit. Okay, until then, take it easy.